So let's see, what are we talking about in the chat? We're talking about Dennis Dyack starting another company.
Yeah.
I think Precursor was the last one, which tried to start Shadow of the Eternals, which is a spiritual successor to the Eternal Darkness. Although it looks like a direct sequel, but I think Nintendo owns the IP, so they can't really do Eternal Darkness too. So now he's back with I forget what the new one is called. And Nestor asked, was it supposed to come to the Wii U? According to the Kickstarter, yeah, it was supposed to be PC and Wii U.
Yeah.
But the first Kickstarter failed, and then the second one wasn't getting any attention, and so it was canceled. I may have that backwards. And they also tried raising money on it on the Precursor site. So, but none of that worked out, which is a shame because I do like Eternal Darkness quite a lot. I don't think it's quite the masterpiece that a lot of people paint it as, but it is a damn good. Well, I have a few.
Is any game the masterpiece people paint it as?
No. But you know, I don't like Silent Hill 2. Nah. I have a few. Really, I love the story. I love the tone, the themes, the feelings, the aesthetics. I actually like the combat system. I like the characters. I like the way it works. There's a few basic mechanics, most of which revolve around the health, magic, and sanity systems that I don't think quite work as well as they should. Yeah, in service of how the gameplay and the narrative works. But still, overall, really like the game. And Pluby, which I like that name. If you're asking if I ever played Eternal Darkness on the GameCube, yes, I did. The funny story about playing Eternal Darkness. Oh, it's 6 o'clock. We should start the show. The quick funny story. For those of you who aren't aware, Eternal Darkness has a. I need to get off my face here because I don't need to see a 10-second delay of me talking. Eternal Darkness has a sanity system as you face the horrors of Cthulhu or Mantarok or whatever the evil, the old god's name is. I think it was Mantarok. Your character loses sanity and starts hallucinating. And those are sanity effects. And some of them are more creatures showing up where your character just drops over dead, but some of them play with you, the player, and you'll get a message that says, you know, your controller is unplugged or the volume goes down on your TV. And you're like, oh, crap. But it's just, oh, you're just going insane. One of the effects, so I'm playing the game. I'm in, like, my mom's basement playing the game, like a good gamer does. And the screen just kind of fades to a grayish beige. It just fades out. I'm like, sanity, in fact. Okay. Anytime now, guys. Who? Nope. The tube burst in the television. The television actually broke. I thought it was an insanity effect. Nope, television died right in front of my eyes. And I didn't believe it. I thought that game was trolling me.
Nice.
But anyway, so let us start the show. You got the stopwatch ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Podcast Action Committee, episode 120. I say that like it's a big deal. Andrew Eisen here, along with the Zachary Knight. Hello, Zachary.
Hello, everybody.
We didn't have a show last week, sorry about that, but I was busy doing the Extra Life charity 24-hour marathon, and thank you everyone who showed up to cheer me on and pledge to a cool cause, so thank you. That was incredibly exhausting, but it was a lot of fun.
Based on your uploads, your Zombie U playthrough lasted a lot longer this year than it did the year before.
Yeah. I just think Zombie U is a great opener because it's just, you know, let's play till we die and then we'll move on to something else. Because, you know, Zombie U, like Dark Souls and games of that nature, games that can kill you pretty quick. Last year I made it just under 2 hours before I died. This year I think I played for like 11 and a half hours.
Nice.
I almost beat the game. I got maybe an hour or so away from if I had the sequence where I died, which is to me, by far the hardest section of the game. If I had got past that, I almost certainly would have beat the game in maybe an hour, 20 minutes later. So,
Yeah.
So, did that, had a lot of fun, raised $518 for Rady Children's Hospital here in San Diego, so that's very, very cool.
Right.
I think Rady Children's, there was about almost $50,000 raised for Rady Children's all told, and that's out of, I think, over $5.5 million that Extra Life in total raised for the various Children's Miracle Network hospitals. So, very cool. Let's see. I'm still playing Hyrule Warriors. Almost done, though. I've got 6, 7, 8 more adventure mode levels to A rank. I think I have about that many Skulltulas left to obtain, and they are kind of hard to get. They're the second Skulltulas, which means you have to defeat 1,200 enemies while taking less than 4 hearts worth of damage, which is like, don't get hit, and that can be kind of difficult. So, but I'm working my way through that. Almost done. The guide for IGN is pretty much done, unless something else opens up once you A rank everything. I'm pretty much done. I bought SteamWorld Dig because it's very highly recommended. Got a lot of really good reviews. And it was one of those games that I look at and I hear all of the praise for, and I watch the video and I go, that looks boring. And my gut feeling is almost never wrong.
Yeah.
But I love giving things the benefit of the doubt. I like trying new things. So it was on sale this week for $6, I think. So I bought it, and I played it for about an hour and a half last night. And it's not as boring as I was afraid it was going to be. I can't say it's not. There's a lot I like about it. I like the aesthetic. I like the art design. I love the music. I think the music's very cool. It's got a very nice system of upgrading. You dig into the ground and you collect gold and copper and all. You mine things out of the ground, and then you walk your way out and you turn it in for cash, which you can use to better your pickaxe, put more water in your steam-driven drill, get a bigger pouch so you can carry more minerals back up to the surface. So it's got a really nice and tight upgrade cycle going, which is really cool. The problem for me, and this seems to be only for me because everyone loves this game, is I don't find digging into the ground that fun. And it just, the trek back out, eventually you do unlock teleporters and stuff to warp your way back out, but man, if I could, there's a self-destruct button in case you essentially paint yourself into a corner. Unfortunately, when you self-destruct, you lose everything you're carrying. Otherwise, I'd do that just to warp out. The trek back out is just kind of a pain in the ass, and you have to walk your way back down a lot of times, and that to me is a little boring and tedious. Not so bad, but the other problem is there's almost nothing else in the game. There's a couple enemies that kind of wander around, but they don't really do anything. So far, there's no bosses or anything. Are there any bosses in this game?
Well, there's an end boss, but no, there's no there's other than the wandering enemies. There's no real fighting. I think. Have you made it to the second cavern yet, or are you still in the first cavern?
I just started the second cavern, which is the old world, which has gold-looking dudes with dynamite. Yeah,
there's just various monsters like that. Really, the main thing is unlocking the upgrades and solving puzzles. Like each of the little rooms that you come across, each of them is a puzzle. You know,
I like the little rooms that you find occasionally.
yeah.
Some of them, there's one which you have to. There are these blocks, these giant blocks, and you have to dig out under them to get them to drop in a certain way to create a path through them to get to the end. And
Yeah.
I really liked that.
I think
I think the game needed more of that.
Yeah, definitely. The game definitely needed more puzzle rooms and stuff, and things that, just to explore and solve. I think having most of the time spent just digging, that does get kind of boring and repetitive. But when you do come across the rooms and stuff, that's where a lot of the fun is, and I really wish there was more of that kind of stuff in there.
Yeah, it's not a bad game. I don't mean to sell it short. I'm just not as moony over it as a lot of others. When it came out on the 3DS, people were like, "Oh my God, it's amazing!" Had I, without anyone talking to me about it, had I just picked up the game and played it, I would have said, "It's okay." That would have been my review.
Yeah.
It's all right. Okay, it's worth a playthrough. Apparently, because it's really, really short.
I beat it in like 5 or 6 hours. So.
Oh, okay. So it's longer than Limbo, for example. Bayonetta 2. I haven't played it yet because I spent my money on upgrading my stuff for the Extra Life Marathon.
Did you not play the demo?
I have played the demo, and I like the demo. The music's great. I love the music in this game. It's really good. And Bayonetta 2. The music in SteamWorld 2 is really cool, too. It's very a Clint Eastwood Western type of, that kind of a sound to it. Bayonetta 2 has got some great music, too, and the combat's fun. And it's just so obnoxiously over the top that you just sit there with a goofy grin plastered on your face. Or if you're me, because I always look miserable or angry whenever I do something fun because I'm serious. I concentrate. I did a piano recital. I saw a video of me at a piano recital, and I'm playing, Moonlight Sonata or something like that, and I looked angry at the piano. I was like, "Oh my gosh, do I really look like that?" You look like you were gonna play that piano to death. And Moonlight Sonata. Da, 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 bum, bum, bum. Shovel Knight. There's another one.
Angry.
So don't play angry. So anything you've been playing this week?
Well, the past couple of weeks, I played a couple of mobile games. I was bored one day, and so I was just looking around, the iTunes store and just seeing what cropped up that caught my fancy. Just looking at the free section, and I believe I was looking specifically at RPGs. And I downloaded a couple of games, and most of the ones that I downloaded, I just really didn't like at all, and so I uninstalled them. But I started playing one called, I don't know, I need to look it up here. Oh, Mini Warriors. I don't know how to quite describe it. It's kind of a strategy game, but there's not a whole lot of strategy to it. But it's also kind of an RPG because you can your captains level up, and you can raise increase their abilities and stuff. But basically, the game is you have I think 25 little squares that you can place your captains on, and to strategically place them for when you get in battle. And then you go into a battle, and there's the enemy's guys, your guys, and then you hit battle, and they just all the captains have a little squadron that they're in charge of, and then they all charge the enemy, and just they just fight and fight. The game's not too hard, but it's one of those ones that has an energy system, so that it forces you to not play the game for a little while so that you can come back and play the game later. And it also has, in order to upgrade your captain's special abilities, you have to find scrolls, which are only available in certain battle maps, and they only show up every once in a while when you fight the battle, and so you have to waste your energy trying to find these scrolls, unless you want to use the premium currency, which you get some of while you're playing, but if you really want to use it, you have to spend real money to buy. So it's all right. It's passable for a game. I don't play it too much, but it was interesting. But the other game that I downloaded, like last year or earlier this year, Square was talking about this game called Final Fantasy Bravest, and it's just a game where.
What's the subtitle?
All the Bravest.
Oh, All the Bravest. Okay, sure.
Yeah, and so the game is just you have like 40 guys over here, and they're just all randomly picked from various classes, character classes throughout Final Fantasy games, and you just swipe the characters to make them attack the monsters, and you build up your characters. Like you start out with like 4 guys, and then you build up and build up and build up until you have the 40, and you level up and you fight monsters. And basically, the goal of the game is just to fight all the monsters and collect all the weapons, and because every monster drops a specific weapon, and then and collect all the classes, character classes too. The character classes just kind of randomly appear in battle. So if you're playing, it'll say Bard has appeared, and a Bard will be in your party, and so that happens, and then there's like 8 areas like that are named after areas in some of the early Final Fantasy games. And each one of them has monsters from various games throughout the series, and they all drop weapons. A lot of them are just kind of they're all weapons that if you play Final Fantasy you'll recognize, but you probably wouldn't know any of them if you don't play Final Fantasy. But you go through and the game it's fun. In a collecting sort of way. The gameplay is just kind of you're just sitting there swiping your screen the whole time in battle, but finding all the monsters, collecting all the weapons, that's a lot of fun. But once you collect everything, you're just kind of there's no reason to have the game anymore because there's no like challenge mode or anything, and it's a free game, and Square expects you to pay over $40 to unlock the premium content, and I'm like, no.
No.
There's like 30 characters that you can get that are you pay 99 cents to unlock a random character from a Final Fantasy game. So you could get Cloud, or you could get Barrett, or from Final Fantasy VII, or you could get Cecil from Final Fantasy IV, and various games. It's characters that people think about when they think of Final Fantasy games, and but you get them at random, so you can't pick which character you buy. You just pay 99 cents and hope you get one that you like, or you pay you just pay 99 cents over and over again
for the ones you want.
Yeah, and then they also have 3 unlockable areas, which are, I forget which ones they have. I know one of them is from Final Fantasy VII, but let's see here. Start this up and I can tell you. But yeah, there's 3 of them, and they're $4 each, and they just bring new weapons and new monsters that you can play against. Option. The shop. World tickets. You can get Midgar from Final Fantasy VII, Zanarkand from Final Fantasy X, and Arkilde Steppe from Final Fantasy XII. I think that's what that is. and each one of them has various various monsters from those games and weapons stuff. A lot of, and it's over $40, and I'm like, there's no way I'm paying $40 to unlock all this crap. You know, I had fun playing the game. You know, it's for a free game. It's well worth, you know, wasting a couple hours, you know, trying to unlock as much as you can. But some of the monsters just really ticked me off because there's certain monsters that are just, they're rare, so you have to just constantly go in and out of battles until you get these things. I think some of these monsters, I spent like 45 minutes trying to just get them to show up, and then they show up and I beat them, but they don't drop the weapon. So I spend another 45 minutes trying to get them show up so that I can get the weapon, you know, try again for the weapon. And it's terrible. It drove me nuts, but I finally unlocked all the characters, beat all the monsters, and got all the weapons. But yeah, I have no reason to really play the game anymore at this point. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
One thing I want to do.
I bought the Humble Bundle 13 too, but I haven't had a chance to play anything off of that yet.
You know, I might want to capture and record the chat because they're more entertaining than we are.
Yeah, they're talking about Mario Sunshine.
They're actually comparing how Mario could be reviewed compared to how Bayonetta can be reviewed, and the merits of story and character and voice work and that kind of thing in a review. And someone said, well, at least Mario doesn't take off his clothes every time he does a special attack, and boy, does that bring up an interesting... Mario just takes off his overalls. That'd be great. So one thing I wanted to show off real quick is SteamWorld Dig, because I'm the type of guy that will read the instructions. To be fair, it's a simple game with very, very little that you need to say. But the instructions are 4 pages long. It's the important information that says, please read the manual carefully before using the software, that whole thing. The next page tells you what controllers are supported, the Wii U gamepad and the Wii U Pro controller. Page 3 is the intellectual property warning. And page 4 is the support information. That's it. Nothing about the game in here. I find that very funny.
Yeah, okay. That is kind of funny. I think it's a requirement for developers to do that, to make a manual for Wii U games. But you know, they have to have, I think, those 4 pages, and that's about it. You know, whatever more you put in there is, I guess, all you got. It's just up to you. Yeah. My son played SteamWorld Dig a bit on Thursday, and he thought it was pretty good. He was getting a little frustrated because he doesn't play very many computer games, so he was having trouble because left shift is the dash button, space is jump, and A is your using your tool, your pickaxe. And I forget what the other keys are, but he didn't get any of the other items that use the other keys. But yeah, he was having trouble trying to shift and dash jump and stuff. But yeah, it was funny watching him play.
Yeah, it's better with a controller.
They don't have they didn't put controllers support in the game for PC, which was really annoying because I have my nice Wii Classic Controller Pro here that I love to use when games support it, but yeah, that one doesn't support it, and that drove me nuts.
Mine's better because it's black. So, yeah. All right, let us move on and talk about. We've got 2 polls to cover this week because last week's break, so to speak.
Yeah.
Last week's poll asked, will Paranautical Activity make its way back onto Steam? For those of you who don't know, Paranautical Activity is a indie game that launched on Steam a week or 2 ago and was mislabeled as an early access game. This rather upset the game's developers, which may only be 2 people, one of which who went on a profanity-laden tirade on Twitter, which culminated in him saying, "I am going to kill Gabe Newell. He is going to die." In response, Valve removed the game from Steam. Since then, the developer behind the tweet has apologized and resigned from Code Avarice, which is the indie studio behind the game. Code Avarice itself, which I am guessing is probably just one or two other people, also issued
a small shop.
Yeah, it's an indie studio. Also issued an apology. So the question was, do you think Paranautical Activity will make its way back onto Steam at some point? And let me actually, where did I put the poll? Oh dear.
Well, I've got it up.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So we asked you.
Found it.
You found it?
Yeah. So we had 199 people vote, and 30%, 59 people said yes. 63 people said no, and 77 people said no. Code Avarice said no. Code Avarice game will ever be on Steam now. So 30% think it'll be back at some point. 32% say no, and 39% go so far as to say that Code Avarice as a studio is blacklisted from Steam. So what do you think, Zachary?
I said yes. I think my personal opinion is that the guy quit or fired or whatever, and it was just him that aired it. It's like nobody else at the company said anything of that nature. And so I think they'll probably work something out with Valve and Steam at some point, and the game will show up. But it's not going to happen anytime soon. But I don't think Valve is the type of company that would permanently hold a grudge against a developer, especially after they've taken the steps that they've taken, Code Avarice has taken at this point. So, that's just my quick thought there. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think if Code Avarice pushes for it, it'll come back on Steam at some point. Although I wonder if Steam would troll Code Avarice and accidentally put it as an early release title again. Oh, golly!
You guys are about this, and
let's trial by fire type of thing. I also find it kind of funny, and the developer who said Gabe Newell will die. He's a kid. He's like 20, 21 years old. And we all do dumb things except me because I was perfect and still am. So yeah, ill-advised tweet. Some people just think that it doesn't quite occur to them that Twitter is everybody. It's not just your friends. Even Facebook isn't quite that private, even when you want it to be. But I have to. This is probably just him being angry and reactionary and young. But I'm like, sir, are you really under the impression that Gabe Newell himself, was monitoring this and was individually stamping the game's early access? I don't think.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if Gabe even heard of your game. No offense.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely I don't know what the guy was thinking, because that's probably one of the stupidest things you could do. And he ended up having to leave his job, and he probably never work, as any type of high-level position in any game development studio ever.
Not for a while.
Yeah. I think it would be different if he was somebody like Dennis Dyack or Carmack, a big name guy, somebody who's worked years to build a name for himself. These guys are big enough that they can, spout some stupid stuff off and be back on their feet in a month's time. But yeah, this guy, nobody's ever heard of him outside of Code Avarice, and and they've only developed this one game as far as I know. Maybe a couple others, but he doesn't have any kind of pull within the industry to recover from this in any reasonable amount of time.
Well, the thing is with John Carmack and Cliff Blazinski or whoever else you said, These are people who are known. They have a history, so they go and do something stupid. And it's like, oh, Cliffy B said something stupid again. So, oh, that Cliffy. But you know who he is, and you're like, he was having a bad day, whatever. Unfortunately, this guy from Code Avarice, this is the only thing we know him from, is threatening to kill Gabe Newell.
Yeah.
There is nothing else there for anyone drawn. So when you think of this guy, luckily, he'll probably be okay because I don't think anyone recalls his name. Me personally, I would have to go look at the article I wrote to remember what his name was. So he's probably going to have to lay low, pay his dues for a while. But I think if he does have a passion for game design, I think he'll be okay and be able to get back to where he wants to be in the next few years. At least I hope so. Because we're all allowed one. I didn't check his Twitter history. I don't know if he's repeatedly threatening people, but if he's just young and then he made a game, it was important to him. It got mislabeled on Steam, which can actually be devastating to your game. I can understand the incredible frustration with that. Doesn't excuse saying Gabe Newell will die, but maybe if he would have added figuratively speaking at the end, he would have had it pretty fast.
Yeah,
Jack Thompson.
That's what Jack Thompson says. As long as you put figuratively speaking at the end of a thread, it's okay.
So everyone, in case those of you don't remember, Jack Thompson, basically the video game boogeyman back in the day. Although a very goofy boogeyman. He sent a picture, he sent a fax to, I think, the Supreme Court or some lower court, which was a picture of a bombed-out building and said something like, this is going to be what's left of you when I'm done with you, figuratively speaking, something like that. Saying that I'm going to kick ass in whatever legal case he was talking about. And, and people are like, are you sure you really want to do that? That's kind of threatening, don't you? He's like, it says figuratively speaking. Do you not know what figurative means? So people, of course, kept emailing Jack Thompson saying, maybe you have sex with goats, figuratively speaking, or I'm going to come, slap you in the face, figuratively speaking. It was awful.
Great time. It's great times, yeah.
Okay, so let us move on to this week's poll, which we may be stuck on for the next half an hour because Zachary and I are big dorks. We may not be able to get off the subject of movie superheroes. So Marvel, DC, well, Warner Brothers, I guess. Warner Brothers had a investor call like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And during the investor call, they mapped out 9 or 10 superhero movies that they're going to have over the next 5 years. And, of course, raving fanboys like us, we listen into the investor calls, or at least follow people who do. So that's how we found out, oh my gosh, they're making a Wonder Woman movie, and a Flash movie, and a Shazam movie, and a Cyborg movie, and a Green Lantern movie, and actually I'll kind of believe it when I see it with some of these films, but they've got a bunch of movies. And Marvel says, no. Marvel says, no, that's not how you do it. You make an event at it. And what was amazing is there was, the New York Comic Con was like that week or something. It's like, why didn't you announce it at the Comic Con, man? Make a big deal about it instead of burying it in a investor call. And so Marvel, makes a big stage event out of it and announces a bunch of stuff. So DC has Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, so please change that title. Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice League, The Flash, Aquaman, Shazam, Justice League 2, Cyborg, and Green Lantern. Marvel actually makes an event out of it and announces Avengers, Age of Ultron. Well, Ant-Man is next year too, but so Avengers, Age of Ultron, then Ant-Man, Captain America, Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War Part 1, Captain Marvel, The Inhumans, and Avengers Infinity War Part 2. So the question I had this week was, whose slate of live-action superhero films are you most looking forward to? And because I'm a very fair person, I also put Sony and Fox on the list. And a few people actually voted for them. Surprising. It was a full day before anyone voted for Fox. But Sony has Sinister Six, The Amazing Spider-Man 3, and Venom. There's also rumors about a female-led Spider-Man film. So I guess it would be like Silk and
well, there's Silk Spectre, there's Black Panther or Black Panther, Black Widow, Black Panther, Black Cat,
Black Bolt. That's Inhumans. There are a lot of black.
Yeah, definitely. And there's Spider Woman and Spider Girl. And a few other ones in there. Yeah. I remember seeing somebody listing out all the potential female-led movies they could do. So yeah, they've got some.
And, yeah, there's also a rumored Venom and Carnage movie, and there's also a rumored Amazing Spider-Man 4. Fox has Fantastic Four, X-Men, Age of Apocalypse, The Wolverine 2, and Fantastic Four 2. There's also a rumored Deadpool movie and a Gambit movie, and all of them have unnamed X-Men film, unnamed this film. So
they really need to. They really need to expand the X-Men franchise because they've got the X-Force and X-Factor and Luke Cage and various other characters that they could really tap into.
Luke Cage is actually one of the Netflix shows that Marvel TV is doing.
No, Cable. I'm sorry. I was thinking. I had the Cable. So they've got a lot of characters they could tap into, and a lot of them are pretty well known. So at least in comic book crowds.
Okay, so we had 145 people vote in the poll this week. 85% said Marvel.
Of course.
Really not surprised. 10% for DC, 2% for Sony, 3 votes, and surprisingly 2% for Sony, which is 3 votes, and 3% for Fox, which is 5 votes. So I guess we have some X-Men fans.
I guess so. Some X-Men and Spider-Man fans.
Yeah.
As you were talking about, the way DC handled their announcements, there's a website that does text from superheroes, where that has little text conversations between heroes, and one of them was a conversation between Superman. It's like Superman's like, "Hey, did you see? Hear about all of our new movies?" And Batman's like, "What? What are you talking about? I didn't hear anything." He's like, "Yeah, I made a big public announcement about it." And Batman's like, "Really? Where?" It's like, "What event were you at?" And he's like, "No, I sent a bunch of text about it, no, I tweeted it." And Batman's like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, I sent tweets." It's like everybody reads tweets, and so it was pretty funny. But yeah, basically, what you were talking about, DC's really low-key announcement of all their films, whereas Marvel made that big event. But yeah, my question for you is, what did you think about the Captain America Serpent Society gag they pulled on everybody?
I unfortunately did not see the news, real time as it came out. So I saw the news all at once when it was already.
Yeah.
When I saw the news, because I was working, when I saw the news, I was seeing an argument where people were arguing, is it Serpent Society or Civil War? And it's like, did someone make a typo somewhere? And then I looked and I found out, Marvel was just trolling everybody with Serpent Society, although that would be pretty cool.
I saw that and I was like, you know what, I would sit down and watch this Captain America Serpent Society because I know Marvel would make the Serpent Society fun and entertaining and a legitimate threat for Captain. But Civil War, I'm definitely on board for that one.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how they pull it off because in the book, in the comics, the Civil War was about the Superhero Registration Act, and secret identities were very, very important. So was Spider-Man. Spider-Man was like one of the big linchpins of that story, and I don't know if somebody's going to play nice.
Well, it's like Spider-Man's like one of the only characters who's been in the Avengers,
Yeah.
and still didn't reveal his secret identity to them.
Well, that's the interesting thing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't think anyone actually has a secret identity.
Well, yeah. I think that the Hulk and Bruce Banner might still be somewhat of a secret.
To the Clark, I suppose, but.
Yeah, but Black Widow, she no longer has a secret identity after Captain America 2.
Her cover, she didn't really have a secret identity. She just had a cover, I guess.
Yeah, but her whole thing, her whole history is on the internet now. Hawkeye, just because he's part of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s information was dumped, everybody knows him now. And then Iron Man and Captain America and Thor, Thor doesn't really have a secret identity at all.
Thor.
But yeah, you're right. It's like there's nobody there. But I think with the Civil War thing, they're probably going to there's probably going to be more of a Big Brother style thing that I think everybody's saying that Iron Man's going to be on board with being a Big Brother thing, looking for superheroes and trying to get them registered and on the good guys team, and and Captain America is going to be like, no, let these people have their own lives and let them do their own thing.
So the argument is whether superheroes should be regulated or not.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it's going to be down to, because they're going to be building up, because Civil War is not going to show up for a couple more years, and they're by that time the Daredevil, the Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones TV shows are going to be finished and aired on Netflix, and so they're going to have all of that going on, and so yeah, I think there's going to be plenty of information, plenty of backstory and filler for a Civil War movie at that point.
Yeah. Nestor asks, is it true that Marvel's in talks with Sony to let Spider-Man appear in the Marvel films, at least as a cameo? I would imagine there are, especially since Sony is having a horrible time with their Spider-Man franchise. I get the sense that they're just throwing anything and everything at the wall and seeing if something sticks.
Yeah, there hasn't been any confirmation from either studio that talks are underway and that it's going to happen, but it's definitely a possibility. I think Sony could probably use the exposure that comes with having Spider-Man in a big tentpole movie like Avengers Infinity War or something. So.
And Real Next Gen Vixen points out that Steve Rogers has a museum, so no one will guess who he really is. Hell, even everyone knows who the Winter Soldier is now, pretty much.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think. I think the Winter Soldier might be safe from stuff like that, because
from the public.
From the public, because he never. He has no real record, and nobody really saw him other than a couple of street battles, but nobody's going to know that that's the Winter Soldier. They're just going to know him as the guy that kicked Steve Rogers' butt on the street. But yeah, I'm kind of saddened not to see a Winter Soldier movie, but I'm sure he's going to show up in Civil War and Infinity War and stuff, so that's. We're definitely going to see him.
Well, Sebastian Stan, I think, has like 7 more pictures in his contract.
Yeah, he has a 9-picture deal, and so there's Captain America 1 and 2 are the first 2, so he has 7 more to go. So that means he's going to, so he's definitely going to show up in Civil War and both Infinity Wars movies.
Yeah. So I'm definitely more excited about Marvel than I am about DC. And that's not to say well, okay, I guess I'm not excited about DC, and the reason is it's because I don't trust DC. Well, Warner Brothers. I don't trust Warner Brothers to make good DC superhero movies because I haven't really liked any of them yet. And I've loved all the Marvel movies, even the ones that aren't that great, like Thor and Iron Man 2, are still fun. They're not bad. I mean, Iron Man 2 has some humongous issues. So does Thor, but they're both very watchable and charming and a lot of
Oh yeah,
fun. And that's something that's really been missing from the DC films. But if DC manages to just completely knock it out of the park with Batman v Superman, please, the title, then people are going to be, oh my God, the DC, that was so awesome! I can't wait for a Wonder Woman in the Justice League movie and Suicide Squad. Could be very, very cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed Batman Begins and Batman or Dark Knight, whatever it was. Yeah, the first two movies, the first two Christian Bale Batman movies, Christopher Nolan movies. I enjoyed those ones. The third one was good too. It was the same tone and everything, but the storyline, I think it had a lot more plot holes than the first two ever did. And so that kind of annoyed me as I watched it, but it was still watchable. But Man of Steel, I thought was just a terrible movie all around. There's a lot of polarization around that one. There are those that enjoyed it, and then everybody else hates it.
Well, I enjoyed elements of it, but overall, it just does not work as a movie.
Yeah, to me, it was a terrible movie. I'm not even judging it on a Superman thing. On a Superman level, it was just an absolute disaster for a Superman film. But overall, it was just a terrible movie. But unfortunately, Zack Snyder and David Goyer, I think, is who the writer is, but that's the direction Warner Brothers is going with the entire DC franchise, and to me, that's a shame. They have some really good writers and directors for their animated films, but I don't know how writers and directors for animated films translate well, to live action films. But it would be nice if they were able to work with those guys a little more. Not the New 52 crap that they have out. I've watched the New 52 movies, and the Suicide Squad movie was pretty good. I just kind of wish that they didn't have the whole Batman subplot within it. I think it would have been great if it was just the Suicide Squad.
It almost feels like it's not going to work if we don't have Batman in there.
Yeah. So, but like the stuff, the animated stuff prior to the New 52 was was pretty solid, all around, and it would have been great to have some of that going on. But yeah, I think the New 52 has really hurt DC in general when it comes to any kind of movie stuff that they want to do, because they're trying to keep it all in that New 52 crap, and nobody likes it.
Yeah, and what's interesting is DC Warner Brothers seems to be trying to keep the movie and television separate. They've got the guy playing Flash on TV is not the same guy playing Flash in the movie. No,
not at all.
I think another one of the things that one of the contributing factors to a lack of excitement for the DC slate is I don't think anyone really trusts that DC knows what they're doing. I get the sense that DC is just throwing stuff out there, and it's like, okay, we'll figure out Cyborg when we get to Cyborg. Marvel, I believe they've got this crap mapped out to 2000.
Oh yeah, they are.
Totally believe that they've actually got an idea for what they want Inhumans to be and how it works in with the rest of stuff. They're not just throwing titles out there to make us happy. They've actually got a plan. DC, on the other hand, I think they're just like, we need to get this stuff out there. From what I heard, the actor who plays Cyborg in Batman v Superman, please change the title, did not know there was going to be a Cyborg movie until they announced there was going to be a Cyborg movie. So things like that give me the sense that DC is just being like, no, we've got all kinds of movies that we're planning.
Well, and it looks like they're all the movies they have planned are all based around the Justice League as well.
Uh-oh. Zachary, are you okay? You're frozen. Pluby, you want a new Spawn movie? I would too. I like Spawn. I like the HBO series was really cool. DC characters just aren't as interesting as Marvel characters. They are very different. Oh, there you are. Are you back?
Yeah, you kind of froze there for a bit.
Yeah, you appeared frozen to me too.
Yeah. Okay, but
Go ahead.
what I was saying was that DC is just they're really focused on this Justice League thing. Marvel had kind of the Avengers tentpole movies, where they had a Thor movie, they had an Iron Man movie, and a Captain America movie, and then they had just Avengers. But I think before they bring in the actual Justice League, they're like, well, we've got to do a Wonder Woman tentpole movie before the Justice League comes, and that's why they have the Wonder Woman movie in there, and then after that they're like, yeah, then we can worry about everybody else.
It's like Batman v Superman. Oh my god, is essentially Justice League Zero.
Yeah, essentially.
And one of the big rumors out there right now is Wonder Woman is going to be a trilogy of movies. The first Wonder Woman is going to take place in the 20s, and then the next one during World War II, and then the third one during modern day, which makes Wonder Woman really old.
Mm-hmm.
Where age is very slow.
Yeah.
Gal Gadot could totally show up in the same old age makeup that Haley Atwell, whatever her name is, who does Peggy Carter. It's just, I'm Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I wonder how they're going to work that out.
If
they actually are going to try for a period piece with Wonder Woman, I gotta wonder, is she supposed to be an ageless character? I don't know much about her in the comic books, but from what I understand, that's not really. I don't really. She doesn't come across as an unaging character.
Yeah.
But I will say this about DC: I do enjoy their television stuff right now. I've been watching The Flash and Arrow. I binge watched the first 2 seasons of Arrow so that I could start watching the third season, and Arrow's a pretty solid show. And it's really good. The Flash, I watched that with one of my daughters. We do our kids have their line leader day, in which they're the one who gets they get to sit up front in the van and all kinds of stuff like that. But they also get to stay up a little extra that day. And so I watched The Flash with one of my daughters, and she enjoys it, and The Flash has had a little stumbles, but there's only been 4 episodes, but they've all been pretty good overall.
Well, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stumbled for an entire season before it found its groove.
Yeah, definitely. And then the Gotham TV show that they have going on.
Mm-hmm.
That one's been, the episodes have been kind of hit and miss, but overall I think they're finding their footing, and it's going to be a pretty decent cop drama based in Gotham before Batman shows up. So I think their television stuff is going to be pretty solid, but I'll just have to wait and see what their movies are going to be like. But
So quickly, because we've been on this for a while,
definitely.
What character would you that hasn't been announced to be coming would you most like to see? Marvel or DC film or TV?
I would like to see a Teen Titan movie.
Mm-hmm.
The Teen Titans are a cast of characters that could be a lot of fun. Just to have as a movie. I don't think it would work as a dark, brooding masterpiece, like they're trying to do with all the other ones. And the one downfall with doing a Teen Titans movie is that
Teen Titans crossed with Twilight.
Yeah, well, the one downside is that Cyborg is a founding member of the Teen Titans, and now he's the token black character in the Justice League. So I don't know how that would work, with him being in the Justice League as a founding member, and also in the Teen Titans. On the Marvel side, I want to see a Squirrel Girl movie.
Yep. Okay. Well, you know, she's kicked Thanos' butt once.
Yeah, definitely. I hope they have her in there in the Infinity Wars, and she puts the finishing blow on Thanos. That would be that there would be worth the entire 6 years until we get that movie.
Yeah. You know, Captain America, is defeated, and who else will stand if Thanos' Squirrel Girl just walks in? That'd be great. And of course, Howard the Duck would be great too. And he's already there, so. You know,
yeah, and he's already got his own movie, but not in his current incarnation. But yeah, the one they've got in the collector's collection is very different than.
Very different than the one we had in the 80s.
In the 80s, yeah.
And Nestor actually says he hopes Marvel will make a new Howard the Duck movie. We've got Nightwing movie, X-Men, Avengers, and Spider-Man crossover, Spawn. Who I'd like to see She-Hulk. And I don't know how anyone would do that, because I think it would work best probably in a television show format. You know, just do a Law and Order type procedural.
Yeah, I think she would work great as a television show. I definitely think so.
The problem is how do you either have a computer generated character, which is way too expensive to do for a television show, or you have an actor painted green like they did with Zoe Saldana in Guardians of the Galaxy, and that makeup effect can work, but you need an actor who's huge. I mean, you
definitely need somebody tall and fit.
Yeah, I'm bodybuilder type fit, and I haven't seen it, but Kick-Ass 2 has an actor in there who plays, I think the character's name is Mother Russian. And from what I've seen from previews, she's definitely got the physical body type for She-Hulk. I don't know I don't know what her acting is like.
Based on what images I've seen, I don't think she really has the face for it. I don't know.
I don't know. Her face isn't really in the previews much, so.
Well, she's not on the first page of cast.
Well, there's a lot of female bodybuilders, but how many of them are actors? That's the thing. You have to have somebody. Otherwise, it's not going to work at all.
Yeah, it definitely has to be somebody that's a good actress.
Mm-hmm.
And IMDb doesn't have a picture of her. Olga Kurkulina is the actress who plays Mother Russia. Let's see what shows up. Yeah, I don't think she would work. She's definitely
just the wrong one.
On the older side of her years, but and definitely, I don't think she would work for She-Hulk. But yeah, I think a She-Hulk.
But that's a body type. That's the body type you need.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
Definitely a She-Hulk TV show.
Yeah. So let us move on to another topic, as much as I'd love to stay on this for the rest of the night. What is the next topic? Oh, yes. New topic. Twitch bans the sexy from game streams. That's a shame.
Sorry, Andrew. You're just going to have to keep your shirt on the entire time.
But I can still play without pants. So, Twitch updated its dress code and it says, nerds are sexy and you're all magnificent, beautiful creatures. But let's try and keep this about the game, shall we? Wearing no clothing or sexually suggestive clothing, including lingerie, swimsuits, pasties, and undergarments, is prohibited, as well as any full nude torsos, which applies to both male and female broadcasters. You may have a great six-pack, but that's better shared on the beach during a 2-on-2 volleyball game, playing with the boys. If that's a reference to something, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. They say, if it's unbearably hot where you are and you happen to have your shirt off, guys, or a bikini top, girls, then just crop the webcam to your face. Problem solved. was this an issue at some point? I mean, you know, Twitch is for streaming video games, so I get this, and I've heard a lot of it. What if it's hot? It's like, you know, crop the camera here, you're fine. You know, if you absolutely have to be underdressed. And I do notice it says wearing, you know, undergarments are prohibited, so you have to go commando when you stream.
Yeah. No, I don't know how much of an issue this is, but I know there's a lot of stuff out there that are kind of in that direction. You know, there was a website that somebody had you know, criticized on Twitter that was a you know, sexy teach you how to code type thing, where it's basically video tutorials for programming languages, where the over the course of the tutorial, the female instructor would strip, which was kind of interesting. See, there's
good luck paying attention to the curriculum.
I know. But yeah, I could see where somebody would try to make a name for themselves on Twitch by you know, dressing scantily or stripping during the course of play. But yeah, I don't know how big of an issue it was, but I know that the PlayStation 4 had a lot of issues with naughty images being broadcast over its streaming service.
Yeah.
But somebody did bring up in the comments, they asked, you know, what about those who cosplay while they play? You know, say they're playing a Soul Calibur and decide to dress up in Ivy.
Ammo belts.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, say they're playing
tank top.
Yeah. But you know, cosplay. You know, a lot of video game characters dress scantily, and you know, it's like, I guess you'll have to choose another character if you want to continue cosplaying, or a different game.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure what prompted this. If there was someone who was really offended, or if this has something to, if this was an order on high from Amazon. Although I've seen some of the stuff you sell on your site, Amazon. You know, you can sell 42nd Street Forever, the Peep Show collection, but we can't stream without our shirts on. I might have raised more money for Brady Children's if I'd taken off my shirt. I would have taken off my shirt and said, "There's streamers, and I'm not putting it back on until we reach $1,000."
Yeah. No, it's yeah. I have no idea what would have prompted this, but I don't follow Twitch all that much.
Real Next Gen Vixen says, if I were to ever make videos, I'd never focus the camera on my breasts and always make sure they were covered. I'd rather have only a few viewers and have them respect me than having a million viewers who see me as an object. That's a good point. When you're streaming videos on Twitch, ostensibly, you want your audience there because of the games you play, not because of, you know, what you look like.
I guess I somewhat agree on the look-like part, but a lot of the reason people watch streams like this is for the personality of the person who's playing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could watch any old you know, stream of a game. You know, if you're just wanting to watch a walkthrough, you know, just mute the audio and watch any Let's Play. But
Yeah.
you know, a lot of the popular channels are popular because the people like the host.
Right, and what you look like and how you act, and that includes dress and behavior, is part of who you are.
Yeah. But going back to you know, what Real Next Gen Vixen said, there's a YouTube channel I follow called Nixie Pixel, and she does videos about Linux and open source software and Android stuff, and she's a really intelligent person, and but the problem is there's a lot of followers, people who comment on her videos, and just talking about, the way she looks, and telling her to show more cleavage and yada 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 and stuff, and it gets really annoying.
Yeah.
But her videos are very, I enjoy her videos, and it's a shame that a lot of people, even though she doesn't try to be an object, a lot of people do treat her like one. And
Yeah.
so it's very difficult.
It's her fault for being attractive.
Yes, exactly.
It's interesting because a lot of attractive women get that crap. The only way I can relate to that, even tangentially, I mean like way the hell over there tangentially, is one of my unique aspects is I have a deeper voice, and a lot of people will actually comment on that and bring that up and say things like, "Oh my gosh, your voice is amazing," or "His voice has made me gay." Sorry, ladies, but I do know. But I've never had anyone pester me to, do it lower. Just hold the controversy forever. Dance, monkey, dance. I don't get any of that. It's just like, hey, wow, this guy's got a cool voice. I'll listen to him and see what he says with it. And,
I guess you do have the guy you could sell your games to video that people can go and watch just for the sex appeal, but.
Yeah. And the only reason I took my shirt off for that one is because the parody just would not work at all if I didn't. So I am horribly, horribly shy, and but I guess my shyness threshold is if it's funny enough. If I think it's funny enough, I'll actually do it. So on the sexy bit, this is a little related. ESRB had their rated Dragon's Age Inquisition, and they have the rating summary, which talks about why the games were rated the way they were, and they give examples from the game. And one of the examples of why the game gets strong sexual content, they said there are the dialogue in the game such as, and one of them is, "I will bring myself sexual pleasure later while thinking about this with great respect." I want to play the game now just to see the context of that damn line. "I will bring myself sexual pleasure later while thinking about this with great respect." I have to wonder, is that a typo? Did they hear something wrong? Did they write it down wrong? Or is that actually a line in the game?
Oh,
that's amazing.
That's cheesy dialogue there.
So, anyway. All right, let us move on to a new topic. Don't have time for that. Oh, Verizon. Okay, so Verizon has a new site. And do I have it here? Yeah, they have a new tech site. But there is and even you can write for Verizon's new tech site. But there's a catch. The site's called Sugar String. I don't get, but okay.
Yeah.
Writers for the site are not allowed to write about two subjects: net neutrality and surveillance or spying activities. Those are off the table. You can't talk about them. So. It's about ethics in journalism. I'm not. Which way do you think this swings, Zachary? Do you think this is writers for this site shouldn't talk about this stuff because Verizon itself is so heavily embedded in these subjects? Is there a conflict of interest here that would make it ethically prudent for writers not to talk about this, or is it the complete opposite and this is kind of crappy? They just don't want to paint themselves in a bad light by anyone talking about things that they're doing wrong.
I think they're going to try to spin it as a potential conflict of interest because they do have an interest in NSA spying and stuff. They have that connection with the NSA, and 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 they also, they're trying to fight against net neutrality and Title II classification and stuff like that. So they're definitely going to try to spin it as avoiding a conflict of interest, but but rather than just saying, we're going to not have any kind of editorial control over this, we hired this guy to specifically run this site, and he's going to run it how he wants to run it. They decided they're going to put their foot down and say these topics are off limit. And I think doing that off the bat has definitely put this site, has basically just tossed this site's credibility out the window, because they, for the vast majority of those who follow tech and technology industry news, they're looking at this as Verizon just saying they don't want anything on their website that could potentially put them in a bad light. And you will notice that they didn't put in there that you couldn't talk about Verizon in any of your articles. Verizon itself is still a perfectly legitimate topic to write about, but not spying.
Especially all the awesome things we do, like saving puppies from burning buildings and things like that. You're more than welcome to write about that.
Mm-hmm. So there's definitely some shady dealings there, and to be honest, I'm really surprised they tried it. It just seems like it's so on the nose that there was no way they were going to get away with it. And the fact that as far as I'm aware, they're pretty complacent with the NSA spying stuff, and at least they haven't spoken up about it, or they're not one of the companies that have tried to try to fight the gag orders from national security letters and stuff, and they're fighting against net neutrality. So I guess they're just trying to avoid any topic that could be portrayed as pro or con against either topic, and it's just I don't think I could ever trust that site.
Yeah, as Matthew points out, he says it's a conflict of interest, and I'm never going to that site. And they shouldn't write about Verizon either, if that's the case. If they're really worried about conflicts of interest. And it's like, and if it's really a conflict of interest thing, you'd think there would be a much broader scope of topics included on the blacklist, rather than just these two things. It really does read, I'm all for giving people the benefit of the doubt, but it really does read as it's just going to make us look bad if you talk about this stuff, so don't do it. Really, the best thing they could do is, even if they were being completely scummy about it, is say, we own this, but we are exercising absolutely no editorial control over this whatsoever. Don't you dare write about that, or I will fire you. If they were being completely disingenuous with it, you think it would be something like that. They would have a much more palatable public face.
Yeah,
and public face be palatable. Yeah.
There's kind of Verizon has actually they actually did respond to this. They posted or they sent Ars Technica an update. And it says, Verizon told Ars Technica, it says, SugarStream is a pilot project from Verizon Wireless's marketing group designed to address tech trends, especially those of interest to our customers. Unlike the characterization by its new editor, SugarStream is open to all topics that fit its mission and elevate the conversation around technology. So I guess they are trying to pin this on the editor, but I gotta say that really comes across as a bit hollow to me, because
what's wrong with how did your editor get that wrong?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Our editor's an idiot. Please visit our site. Doesn't know what he or she's allowed to talk about.
Yeah, they haven't specified how that all came about, but if it was a conflict of interest thing, then there really is nothing that you could write on a technology blog that's owned by Verizon. Because Verizon has their hands in so many areas of technology that there's nothing you could conceivably write about that wouldn't be a conflict of interest. So yeah, trying to pin conflicts of interest on just those two issues, just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, if this editor is just a rabble rouser and is trying to make waves, well, you hired the wrong person, Verizon.
Yeah.
So, all right, let us move on to one more topic, and then we'll get out of here because we're over time anyway. There was an article in Mother Jones, which I've never heard of before, but they're talking about a series of articles, or a series of studies, mostly done by Brad Bushman, Craig Anderson, and the like, which have found, to varying degrees, namely 0 to very little, that playing violent video games, at least for the short term, can increase aggressive thoughts and behavior in those who play them, at least for a little while, and at least by some small measure. I've read a lot of these studies, and I have seen 0 that have actually quantified what that increase in aggression means or manifests itself as. An increase in aggression. Well, I can play a game and go, damn it! That's an increase in aggression, but I don't think we're really worried about me, snapping and, killing my neighbors. So what this site does is they're looking at all this idea that video games can cause aggression. And they're thinking, well, the last 2.5 months on Twitter have been somewhat aggressive in certain areas, with people, saying nasty things to each other and doxing each other and threatening each other with rape and death. So like, golly, that's aggressive. Maybe it's the video games, those violent video games that we're playing that are making us aggressive and making us act like assholes on Twitter. Because there's this huge meta study from 4 or 5 years ago that looked at a few hundred of these studies. They said, my gosh, the punching doll test and the air horn test, they all show that playing violent video games increase aggression in some small measure. So people are playing video games and they're getting their aggression raised, and they're getting on Twitter and they're threatening to rape people. That's at least what I got out of the story. And I don't totally... I think it's kind of an interesting idea, but I still am not convinced that video games increase aggression to the point where it changes who you are. Because while the threats and things that are going back and forth on Twitter are undoubtedly aggressive, aggression isn't the only ingredient needed to tweet a death threat. You also have to be an asshole.
Yes.
As far as I've seen, playing video games don't make you an asshole. You have to actually be an asshole in the first place. And asshole plus more aggression, maybe that's what's tipping someone over into. It's like, oh, I don't like Anita Sarkeesian. Her stuff is lousy, and that shirt she's wearing is dumb. And then you play a violent video game. It's like, die in a fire, Anita Sarkeesian. Maybe that was just enough aggression to push an asshole over the edge into making stupid comments on Twitter. But if that's the case, then it's not really the violent video game's problem that you're an asshole. Because it's not like violent video games are the only thing that could possibly increase your aggression.
Yeah.
So,
but like the going back to Columbine and other mass shootings, the FBI and the Secret Service, they did research into this, and they pulled up a list, a mile long of potential indicators and influences for someone to become a mass killer, and video games was just one of like 50 potential things. And and so there's a lot of factors that go into how people behave, and Mother Jones and Brad Bushman, they're trying to pin video games down as one of the critical contributing factors, and there's just really absolutely no evidence for that. And just as a side note, one of the concerns that comes from this article is that there might be some people who on the anti-Gamergate side, the people in defense of journalists and stuff, who would use this article as a something to support their side, and unfortunately that's happened. James pointed, Game Politics editor James, he pointed to somebody who actually works for Feminist Frequency, who referenced the Mother Jones article as as something that supported his side of things. And after James commented to him and said, it's like, why are you even bothering with that article? It's based on pretty flawed scientific studies. And the guy commented back a couple of times and then just kind of gave up after James kept refuting him. But yeah, so it is unfortunate that this kind of stuff gets out there, because it's not based on fact, and it's just it's really just going to make things worse rather than better. Because nobody on the Gamergate side is going to read this article and say, oh, it must be the video games that are making me bad. I'm going to stop being bad now and stop playing video games. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So there, but it is going to fan the flames, and I don't think it's contributing anything positive to the narrative.
No, especially since a lot of these studies have been looked at by other professionals and said that's not very conclusive. I mean, you're looking at results that are ranging from 0 to not very persuasive, not very much.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of these studies have been heavily criticized for the methodology, saying that the air blast tests and the punching doll tests and stuff are not really good. That's all we have, perhaps, but they're still just not good measures of actual real-world aggression, and they don't compare it to anything else. I've never seen a study that says, okay, violent video games increase your aggression this much, and that's compared to, watching a football game, or sitting in the same room with sitting in a small room with a screaming baby for 5 minutes. How does your aggression level? We have a few interesting comments from the peanut gallery here. Nestor says, when I was a kid, some people claimed that video games inhibited the maturation process in children. Now that they're all adults, I'm starting to wonder. No one ever makes note that a person liked to play video games if they do nice things. It's only if they do bad things that mentioning video games becomes relevant. That's true. I am very polite. I don't threaten people online. Some people, I can look mean, especially when I'm concentrating on something, because I just get in a serious mode. But I always try to be civil, and about the worst you'll see out of me is I may get curt or somewhat short with you if you annoy me online. But I'm never rude. I don't do the name calling thing. And I play some of the most violent, disgusting, and I watch really gory movies too. I inundate myself with M-rated games and gory things. I love all that stuff, and I'm like one of the nicest guys you could ever meet.
So what you're saying is that you're a ticking time bomb, just waiting for that one last straw to send you on a violent murder spree and killing everybody you work with and everybody they know, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. You know, if all video gamers are killers, it's only a matter of time. So, Real Next Gen Vixen says, what causes aggression, frustration at the game, or simply playing it? You know, a lot of theories have been it's not necessarily the violent content of the game that increases aggression, but more the competition aspect of the game that increases aggression. But none of the studies have really looked at that component yet. So.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, none of the studies have looked at what exactly it is about the games that cause the aggression. I've always said that, you know, I want to see a study where they put they put a player in there to play Mario Kart, Madden Football, and Call of Duty, and measure the aggression levels based on those versus a control group, which is often something these studies miss. Is
there's no control group, and that's science 101, man.
Yeah, because usually these studies are just like, you know, they play Pretty Princess. They have one group play Pretty Princess Pony, and the other group play some 14-year-old violent game like the original Doom, and then they measure aggression levels based on between those two groups, and that's not really a control group versus a study group. But they definitely need to mix up the types of games, because Mario Kart can be very, very competitive, and people can get very aggressive when they're playing that.
That's why Nintendo doesn't let you talk to anybody during the race.
And
a fucking blue shell! Ah!
Yeah, and then Madden NFL is another popular game that's very competition heavy, and then Call of Duty. They're all highly competitive, and it would be great to see the aggression levels measured between them, because if you see similar aggression increases between all three of those games, then it's got to be something other than the violence. So.
Yeah, I will say, however, if violent video games is the only form of input you have in your life, and I'm talking like, Johnny Five, input Stephanie type of, this is the only thing you ever absorb. Yeah, your outlook, boy, that was an old reference. Your outlook on life would be really skewed. If you were raised locked in a room playing Grand Theft Auto, yeah, you could have some really odd outlooks on the way life works and the way social interactions work. But that's typically not how people are raised. So, I mean, even so we're talking in circles about that one. But, Matthew, if you put it, I don't know what article you're referring to that you linked in the shout box, but I probably did, because I read pretty much everything in the shout box, unless Zippy links something, then I ignore it. I also mentioned that I played D&D in my youth too. That evil Dungeons and Dragons. So yes, I worship the devil, because you play with a Ouija board and summon spirits and stuff. Hey, remember when everyone was on? My mom remembers my mom played D&D when she was in college, and she got crap over that. And they did. My mom was a LARPer. they would run around the buildings in college and wander all around playing D&D. What my friend and I would later call OD&D, which was outside D&D. There was just regular AD&D, the advanced D&D. I was a second edition guy, and then there was OD&D, which is go outside and play. And so we'd you beat on each other with sticks and stuff, But
yeah,
good times. Back in the days when we really sucked at D&D, and Ricky would DM, and I'd find a magical slice of pizza that upped my strength to 99. That was when we were like 7, though. We got better. So anyway, final thoughts.
Did you roll initiative so that the pizza didn't kill you?
Yeah. Yeah, I had to, do a constitution check to make sure I didn't get food poisoning or something. Um, so, any final thoughts before we close the show?
I'm good.
Okay. So that is our show for the day, and oh hell with it, we're half an hour over. I may as well mention this because I thought it was funny. I was listening or reading the transcript from Nintendo's investor meeting, and Iwata, who has recovered from surgery and is back to work, yay Iwata, mentioned that in January they said we're doing a quality of life thing, and the first component of that is apparently going to be a sleep sensor, because the vitality sensor was, they said, it's something you have to wear and you have to deal with, and we don't want that. I'm just like, you're afraid of people clipping it on their genitalia, aren't you? So what they have now is, instead of the vitality sensor, they have some doohickey dongle thingamajig that sits on your nightstand and monitors you as you sleep, and then it's sends all of its observations out to the cloud, and then spits back results. So in other words, Nintendo is watching you sleep and uploading it to the internet.
Yeah. Well, and Matthew asked, who would want something like that, and they're working with medical sleep researchers, to develop this thing. So it's going to be part of a research initiative, plus something for people who have sleep apnea or whatever, who might need help monitoring their sleep.
I have insomnia, so maybe it would be of use to me. But are they going to gamify it? It's like, you should be getting 8 hours of sleep. Well, you only got 4.5 hours last night, so you don't earn as many points. And kids are going to be chugging melatonin and getting drug addictions and beating themselves over the head with pipes to lay themselves out. And it's like, I have full 8 hours. Good on you. You unlock a gold star.
Yeah.
You also wonder, it's like, if there's someone sleeping with you, does that throw off the results? What if a cat jumps on the bed? Does that do something? What if you have to get up and go to the bathroom? Do you have to be in the bed all night?
You invite a creepy stranger into your home.
Yeah, Real Action Vixen says, if I wanted to be monitored while I sleep, I'd invite a creepy stranger into my home. Yeah, it is. Nintendo is going to have to be very careful in how they sell this, because all we know right now is it monitors you as you sleep, and it uploads the results to the cloud. That's a little disconcerting, I would imagine, to a lot of people.
But I think it's going to be...
T-Hyper 1985 says, I hope they call it the Reggie. Is your body ready?
But it's definitely going to be something that you're going to go out to get for a specific reason. It's not going to be something. They're not going to turn your Wii U into this sleep monitoring thing. So,
although
no
Microsoft already has that. It's called the Kinect.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Definitely an interesting first step into their quality of life stuff. I'm interested in seeing what else they decide to do, because there's a lot of cool things that people could do with video games and video game hardware, to improve people's lives, and you see a lot of this stuff on Kickstarter and other avenues. So having a company like Nintendo with a lot of cash doing something like this, they could do some interesting things and probably make some people's lives better. So
could be, yeah. It's just a concept or an idea at this, I'm sure it's further along than that, but Nintendo is not good. My hair's going all over the place. Nintendo's not sharing much more than that, and again, this was to the investors, but sometimes you wonder if Nintendo is not aware that we pay attention to this stuff. You almost get the sense that Nintendo's like, should we mention it this early? I mean, because it's like, it's just to our investors. Who's going to know? It's the whole world, man. Have you not heard of NeoGAF? They translate it before you do. So, Yeah. So I think that's enough for today. So we are done. So ResMed released a video last week for a device called the S Plus that seems to be about the sleep monitor, although it does not mention Nintendo in it. Yeah. So if you want a preview of what it could possibly be like or what it might do, look for that. So that's it for us. We are going to go away. So plug our stuff and get out of here. I'm Andrew Eisen. Eisen is the last name. Facebook is Andrew Eisen. YouTube, Twitter at Andrew Eisen, and YouTube just type in my name. You can find it. Yeah, can it beam a Mario sheep jumping game into your dreams and make you sleep quicker? That would be nice because again, I have insomnia. So
Where Mario jumps over the sheep. You have to successfully count the sheep in order for Mario to jump over it.
Or he lands on the sheep and boink, boink, and 100, 200, 400, 800, one up, one up, one up.
There we go. One up, one up, one up, one up. Yeah.
So, as far as Twitch goes, I am considering live streams. I don't know if there's any interest in me doing that, though. So if you guys would like me to continue live streaming, probably Wednesday nights at 8 Pacific Standard Time, let me know. I will try to get better at it. I have had some very fair criticisms that I'm not the best Let's Player in the world, and that is absolutely true. Because
just remember, if you want to make a name for yourself in Twitch, take off your shirt, crop your video to your head, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I'll just crop it here and say, I'm shirtless. But I'll just let you imagine. So, I'm considering that. So, let me know if that's something you'd be interested in me doing. And I can still upload all that stuff to YouTube. So, yeah, that's it. So, Zachary, plug away.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at EasyKnight, and you can also check out DK_gaming on Twitter. That's for DivineKnightGaming.com, and I do a bunch of game development stuff there, and hopefully can do some more stuff in the next couple of months. And you can also check out OK Game Devs on Twitter and OKGameDev.com for all the news about the game development scene in Oklahoma. So check out all that stuff.
All right. You have been listening to Super Podcast Action Committee, episode 120. You can follow us on Twitter at SuperPackPodcast. Send us email at superpackpodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes, and like us on Facebook. So that's it for us this week. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and everyone in the chat. You guys are more entertaining than us. So thanks for keeping the mood light and having fun, and we'll be back next week. See ya.
All right. See ya.